Just waiting on the confirmation from the good old Facebook robots. And it looks like we are live. Let's just see where we're at here. Just want to be able to monitor comments and what have you. But yep, looks like we are live.
Cool.
We are live. Yes. All right. Welcome, Get Karate Students community. Welcome to this live stream that we've got going here today. It's John Evans here. We are excited for today's training. We've got Derek Croley of Premier Martial Arts on the line, and we're going to be talking about how he was able to basically answer a question to a 30-year, or get an answer to a 30-year question on how to actually get his marketing funnel set up. So I'm super excited to dive into all of that stuff. Derek's got, is it 2 locations, Derek?
Yeah, 2 locations.
2 locations right now, and so we're going to break down his story. It's very encouraging. I'm sure it'll be very inspiring, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in the same boat as Derek that have the same kind of story. So if you can hear me and see me, just leave me a comment on Facebook and let me know that you've got good audio and that you've got good visual. Looks like Travis is on. Very, very good. Okay, got good audio there. I think there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll just see how that goes. But if you can hear us and if you can see us, just leave us a comment. Let us know you're here. Let us know what's going on. All right, Travis says we're good. Travis is out on the Jersey Shore. He had an awesome background for his video here, but he had no internet. So I guess that's beach living for you. You just get to hang out at the beach and you don't have to be on your computer much. So I'm glad that Travis is here monitoring comments for us. So I would like to know, for those of you that are on live right now, if you would just comment for us and let us know that you're here, and then let us know if you're kind of like Derek, who has told me that he's tried lots and lots of things for marketing his school. So if you've tried a bunch of things for your school, just leave us a comment and say, tried everything, or maybe even leave us some funny stuff of what you tried in the past. We had one client that was his craziest thing he ever did was another Derek, actually. One of the craziest things he did was dressed up like Kung Fu Panda. Actually, it was his wife who dressed up like Kung Fu Panda, was out at the community events trying to get kids to come over and interact. And so, we thought that was pretty funny. So if you've ever done something crazy, trying to get attention out there in the community, just go ahead and leave us a comment and let us know what that was. But maybe you've tried birthday parties or events or parades or kids expos or demos, or maybe even posting on social media or doing some kind of more intricate funnel system online, digital marketing. Maybe you've gotten into the weeds of that stuff or hired an agency, but whatever it is, if you felt stuck or frustrated, or you're, just not growing or not getting that consistent flow of new white belts on the floor day after day, week after week, then get ready to change that, because we're going to go through Derek's story and he's going to share with us what he was able to do. And basically, Derek's story before finding us, I'll let him share exactly what it was and how it's impacted him. But he's been able to add a lot of students, been able to really kind of systematize things and really take a more strategic approach at managing his marketing. So go in the comments right now if you've ever been frustrated with your school's growth, and if you're not getting enough people in the door, not enrolling, not getting enough new white belts, and let us know you're there. It looks like Ron's here. Hey, Ron, how's it going, sir? Travis, I'm having trouble seeing the comments, so I'm just going to wing it here. So Derek, how's it going, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. I'm so glad you're here, man. And remind me, so you're in North Carolina.
Yep, I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Asheville. Yep, just a few minutes ago, you told me, and I was just trying to think, is it North or South Carolina? So good, man. Well, I can't wait to get into the call and kind of talk through some of the success you've been having. But why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell everybody some of your backstory, and then we'll kind of dive into the meat of this training and give some more insight into how fast things can really start to change.
Sure. Well, let's see. My name is Derek Croley. I'm in Asheville, as I mentioned before. I started doing martial arts whenever I was about 7, and so I've not quite 40 years doing martial arts. In that time, I've trained in all kinds of stuff. I've done, traditional karate, kickboxing, a lot of kickboxing, Kenpo karate. I got my first black belt from a guy named Dave Kovar in California. I've lived in China and trained in China under a guy named Liu Chan Shan. done a lot of stuff with the guy named David German, which is Kenpo and Jiu-Jitsu. And then my wife and I moved to Asheville in 2000 from China, where we lived, and opened up shop because it's just what I always wanted to do. And so we've been in business here since 2000. And over the time, I've basically, in terms of martial arts, I've trained in just anything that has interested me. And so I still do. I'm always a white belt in something because I just enjoy doing that. But as far as business systems goes, and more specifically marketing systems, for the first 13 years I was in business, I was, a small private school, just me, and called it Croley's Martial Arts or White Oak Martial Arts. And in 2013, I joined Premier Martial Arts, which for me was a very, very good decision in terms of getting my business systems and head together to get everything going. Part of my impetus for that actually was the recession, as some of you guys have been in business a while, remember, that really did a number on me. I went bankrupt. That was not good at all. But I rebuilt myself psychologically from that, and then started getting the help to rebuild myself financially and business-wise from that. And then, of course, COVID didn't do us a lick of good. But we're still here. And I had the brilliant plan that I was all geared up. 2019 was a great year for us. And, we're just working up through our systems, doing really well. And so I decided, well, let's open another school up. In fact, let's just start Johnny Appleseed schools as much as we can and see what happens. So last March in 2020, I signed the lease for the facility I'm in right now to open a second location. And a week later, they closed down the country for COVID. So I think I may have had a stroke, but we worked through it, and we just kind of pushed back the opening of this facility. And as you can see, we got it all done and opened up. And really the systems that you guys have here were actually quite instrumental in our recovery from COVID, as well as our opening of this facility. And a minute ago, you had mentioned different systems I've tried over the years. And I'm not going to list them all. I've tried tons, as I'm sure everybody watching has too. And I found a lot of things that work and a lot of things that are excellent. So I'm not here to badmouth anything. But what I found is that a lot of things work and are excellent, but there's gaps. They're really good at this and really good at this, but it'd be nice if they did this too. And you sort of start piecemealing together different things and trying to consolidate as much as you can into a workable system. It becomes really easy to have 5 different softwares you're doing for 5 different things to try to work them all in one thing. And it's hard enough when it's you doing it, and good luck getting a staff member to figure that out. And so one of the things I really like about the Follow Up Ninja software, and maybe I'm getting ahead of us, but who cares, is in terms of your marketing funnel, you've got a good method of creating ad content, but then how do you actually work your funnel and track it effectively of leads to appointments, to show-ups, to enrollments? And you can track that, but sometimes it's difficult to do, and having a good software that does it automatically is really nice. But what's also, I think, really, and I think what's extremely valuable is that there's instant follow-up. Historically, what I've done is I'll just have an hour a day where I've set it aside for myself to do all the lead follow-up. So if I get a lead at 6 o'clock the night before, I'm not going to get to them until 1:30 the next afternoon. And that's okay, but it's an awfully long time when we'd really like to have an immediate contact with that person. And this software does that. And I think more efficiently than things I've seen before in terms of that, and then having follow-up things after that. Anyway, basically, I just really like the software, and I'm very impressed with its functionality. And so yeah, I'm willing to say that I think it's awesome. Here I am.
All right, I'm receiving that. take that. Travis is appreciating that too. So cool. So a couple things that you mentioned there, I want to jump back to. I jotted down while you were talking. I too went through a bankruptcy in my past, and one of the key things that you said there was the psychological rebound that you had to rebuild yourself. And I remember that feeling of just like utter complete failure, and like how can I even think I could ever do anything in business again after this ridiculous. I mean, I had a bankruptcy and then 2 foreclosures. We owned our house and we owned a rental property, and both got foreclosed on. And that was what sort of initiated the bankruptcy. But I remember that like psychological mindset of like, I'm just a complete failure. And I wallowed in that for like 2 years until a mentor just like slapped me across the head and was like, what are you talking about? Lots of successful people have filed bankruptcy. Stop wallowing around in your, in your sorrows, and just pick yourself up and, try something new. And so I appreciate that you said that. And then the other thing that you had mentioned was now I can't even read my own writing. Oh, did you say you opened the second location a week before COVID?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. You must have had a heart attack.
Well, I signed the lease a week before.
Oh.
And so it was just a white box. Fortunately, the landlord here was willing to work with me and push back our beginning payment dates and that kind of stuff. So I was fortunate that it was a guy who also, he's an insurance agent guy. So he's also was willing to work with me. He wasn't some conglomerate that could care less. So
right.
I kind of lucked out with that. But yeah, and going back to the psychological aspects, and that's huge. Going from recession to bankruptcy to actually immediately after the recession, my location at the time I was in flooded in raw sewage. That was great. So I had to shut down the whole thing and then try to come back. And then the recession hit, and then I just went under. So that I know what you're saying. There's like you said, a huge psychological hurdle to overcome. And I think being a business owner, there's always something like that. I don't think that there's anybody who's been successful that I look at as a role model in business that has not had those hurdles to jump through. I think if you haven't had one good, solid, sound, utter failure, you're not really ready to succeed just yet.
Yeah.
And so I think you need to understand what that's like. But that's also something I really liked about in your program. The whole first unit is on, getting yourself psychologically prepared to succeed, because we're our worst enemies. You get in your head and you start to take actions that are inconsistent with the person that you want to be. And I think, as you said, a mentor is necessary. Someone to smack you upside the head and say, this is not the right direction for you. And
right.
I had that as well. And so I listened to your thing, loved every minute of it. But I completely agree with everything you're saying about that. That's I think
awesome.
Hugely important. We are our worst enemies.
So yeah, for those of you listening right now, go into the comments and just say "me too" if you've ever gone through any kind of struggles like that, or if you've ever felt like a complete failure at something. Just say "me too" in the comments. Give some love to Derek here, and let us know that you have felt that way in the past too. So Derek, one thing I know is that you're completely confident in your curriculum and your programs, and we wouldn't have got past the first conversation if we didn't believe that too. And that's why we mostly do only phone calls for anybody that joins our program. I know you had a conversation with Travis, but one of the things that I know that we discovered was some holes in the growth strategy. So how are you, kind of walk us through how you were treating your marketing before you found us? And then later we'll talk about some of the shifts that happened, but how were you getting new students before you started work with us? Like, what was your strategy?
I would do stuff on social media, but I would mostly boost posts, which isn't amazing. And I felt like I never really had found the key to that. And then I hired different agencies. The one that got the best results posted pictures of kids doing really bad martial arts, and I just couldn't handle it. So I would do some of those things. I would do booths at various events. And I'll be perfectly honest, I still recommend doing booths at various events as they open back up. So I think it's good to have a face in the community. Uh, and Years and years ago, of course, I did the yellow pages and stuff like that, and phone book and newspaper ads. But I haven't done a newspaper ad or yellow page ad in, oh gosh, over a decade, I don't think. Uh, so most of my marketing consisted of, trying to go to events like 5Ks that a school would have or something, and I plan to still do those. 250 for a weekend, and you see every kid in that school. That's not bad. Uh, but I attempted online stuff with very little success. I dabbled with AdWords, and it wasn't super awesome either for what I was doing. And the problem wasn't the media. The problem was I wasn't utilizing them properly. I didn't have a good understanding of how to build a Facebook ad and the why and what it was doing. I didn't have a good understanding of what I was supposed to be doing with Google either. And so I lacked education.
Got it. Got it. Cool. I'm glad that you said that, because that's a pretty big misconception sometimes, is if people don't have success with something, they blame the platform. And they like, sometimes we'll hear people say, oh, Facebook ads are no good, or they bring in crappy leads or something. And it's just a total, you have the great mindset of understanding that the platform is the platform, and you can use it wrong and get bad results, or you can use it right and get good results. Same thing with Google, you can get results with those things, but it's just a matter of learning the process and learning how it actually works and learning how to set the stuff up. So cool. Glad you brought that up. So for anybody that's like looking in from the outside, what we help Derek with is really not just like throwing out a bunch of marketing random stuff out there to try to get your name out there. It definitely wasn't like boosting posts or anything like that. We've got a really strategic approach and really kind of a step-by-step process that takes complete strangers and helps them along this little path that we like to call micro commitments toward becoming fully enrolled paying students. And that's what Derek's been able to tap into here. And he's a great example of somebody that's just been able to follow our process from A to Z. What's your student count at right now, Derek?
Let's see. One school, we've got one is 138, and the new one here, I think, is at 125.
Wow.
And I like a model that peaks at about 150.
Yeah.
So we're not quite where I want it to be yet, but we're getting there, especially since we're really rebuilding 2 brand new schools.
Yeah.
I prefer a model around 1,500 square feet. I know in the 90s, as you may recall, and some of you guys watching may recall, the whole thing was what's your square footage, the bigger the better. What's your staff, the bigger the better. What's your gross revenue, the bigger the better. And what's your student count, the bigger the better. I think that's all backwards. All those numbers, how small can you make those numbers, and how big is your net?
Yes.
That's the only question that I think has any pertinence at all. How big is your net, and also how good is your work-life balance?
Definitely.
I know for the first probably 19 years I was in business, my work-life balance, I didn't have one. I had work, and I didn't have a life. And I think I missed out on so much because of that lack of balance that I think maybe just in the business community, but we're taught as a desirable thing. And no, it is not desirable to work 15-hour days. That's a terrible idea.
No.
There's no benefit to that whatsoever. And so I think whenever I figured that out, I'm a little slow. I went to Clemson. They don't let smart people in there. But I think as I figured that out, everything got better for me. And so you still get all your work done, but you're just efficient with it. And then now's a good part to do a shameless plug for your software again, because it really helps with that efficiency of, you can just log in and I'll be honest, I man the software and I'll respond to it, and I have staff members do the phone calls. But that way nobody's doing all of everything, because I can. And it makes makes their lives better and my life better. I don't want them to be working more than an average 40-hour work week either. Because there's no, if your staff isn't happy, then what are you doing? What's wrong with you? What is your purpose in life if you're not helping the people around you?
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that you kind of touched on a little bit with that first module of just getting your personal development side of things right and correct. And one of the things we always talk through is like, why do you have this goal? You know, maybe you have a goal to be, maybe you have a goal to add 50 students, or maybe you have a goal to make $1 million. Both goals are great and fine, but like, why you have that goal? Because if you don't know why you have that goal, what is the point? You'll end up doing things like you talked about, working, 15, 16 hours or 18 hours a day. I was guilty of that same thing myself. And that's one of the main pillars of the way we've set up our program as far as the mentoring side of things. And also, of course, the software is like, how can we make this to where you can have a life and still have the success that you're desiring? And how do you design that? And so I'm really glad that you brought that up too. So what was your student count? Sorry, I should have asked you this before the call. Where were you at before or right after COVID hit? Like, what was the bottom? The one school obviously was 0 because it was nobody in the school.
Yep. Right before COVID, the one school we were at 184. And so we were doing pretty good. And then right at the end of COVID, I think we dropped down to something like about 40.
Wow.
And so, I tried to do all this stuff. We tried to do Zoom classes. I put a big hand out in front of the school and tried to do just outdoor classes in front of the facility. I did, we called people and sent them postcards and hand delivered belts to people for our Zoom belt testing, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I was trying to survive. So do what you got to do. It's just that the area that I'm in, and maybe it's the same with every other area. I don't have any idea. It's an extremely liberal area, and so people were extremely conservative in their treatment of COVID, which I'm not saying they're wrong about. I'm saying it's how it went down.
Yeah.
So it made it hard. So fortunately, I hadn't committed to a whole lot yet. I had low overhead, and that was nice. And so whenever those things started to lighten up around September-ish, we just attacked guns blazing, and we still are. And things are going along quite well. So we're not we're close to our goals of where I'd like us to be, not 100%, but we're doing pretty good. I feel extremely confident that by the end of the year we'll be exceeding my current platform of goal structure. And I'll be honest, my objectives are we're already at a point that I make enough money and that my staff is doing pretty good. And I want to get to a point that that our managers at our schools are doing really, really well. And so that's actually my goal right now.
I love it. It's funny too, because when I see guys like you who have goals that are more for how can I help other people, it's so much easier to achieve those kind of goals from what I've seen. Because when you're working with that sort of selfless mentality of like, hey, if I just help this person, if my manager's making enough money, then I know I'll be making enough money. So if I focus on that, it's much easier to, nudge those people in the right direction. If you're thinking, how can I make more money? And you're not thinking about your managers or thinking about your students, that comes through too. There's some ancient wisdom that says the mouth speaks what the overflows from the heart, right? Right. So if you have that kind of belief in your mind that I care about my students getting the right curriculum, I care about my students learning the right skills and the right life skills and character skills, and if I care about my management and my staff doing the right thing and getting what they want, then you're just automatically going to get that. So that's why we love working with you, Derek, and other people like you, because that's the right mentality to have. So
I think a manager's coming in right now.
Awesome. So I did some math while you were talking. Did you add 269 students since September?
That sounds about right.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good clip there, man. Pretty good. Yep. And just following a process. So that's awesome. Yeah. So, all right, cool. I want to get into that process a little bit, but you've been running ads on Facebook.
Right.
And so you said you had boosted some posts, but was that about the limit of running the ads. And were you able to measure results from that before, or kind of track anything, or were you just kind of like putting it out there?
I would attempt to. We would do stuff like try to boost a post and have somebody log into Eventbrite or some other kind of thing. I didn't have a grasp of the forms at all. And so maybe shoot them over to a website or something like that. And none of it worked that well. Yeah, I felt, but I felt like I was missing something.
Got it.
And I, of course, heard about you guys from my friend Kevin Hudson. Yeah, he's in South Carolina, in Lyman, and we've been friends forever. But he called me up and he said, "Yeah, I've been doing this thing and it's been great." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And he goes, "No, just give him a call." So I did, and here we are.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I love Kevin. He's another one of those guys like you that he's always looking, how can he help people and how can he, bring up his staff the right way and his students the right way. So I just love that. It's awesome. So would you say, Derek, that now that you're following the student magnet system, are you working less and enrolling more students than you were prior to working with us?
Yes. Yes, I am. Although I can't say it's entirely because of the student magnet system, I'm afraid. I've intentionally changed my lifestyle from, I'm no longer the person teaching 40 classes a week and doing everything myself with an assistant. I've taken a step back from that active classroom role, simply because I don't think you can manage multiple schools and work in one, basically. Yeah. And so, like the fellow walking around behind me is the manager of this facility, Donner, and he's been killing it. Don't tell him I said so, though; it'll go to his head. But I consider my job to be more support. So I work on the business while they work in the business, and we work on it together. So I work a lot less, but it's mostly because I'm not really on the mat too much. I only teach like 4 classes a week. However, our efficiency in creating our lead to student funnel is immeasurably faster and better than it has been ever. And I think one of the key elements to that is what your software does. It immediately contacts people. You start, you get used to it, but it's a pretty cool thing where you show up Monday morning and you've got 4 appointments scheduled that you had nothing to do with. That's kind of nice.
It is.
And I hadn't ever done that before. Usually it's me, telling my wife on Sunday, "Yeah, I'm going to go to the bathroom," and I sneak off and do lead calls. And
I thought I was the only one doing stuff like that.
What were you doing? Nothing. I just talking to the dog. Really? You weren't working, were you? Oh, no. Yes.
No, it's Sunday. I don't work on Sundays.
Yeah. But I don't do that anymore. So basically what this system does is it really takes care of the no-brainer stuff. The parts where you're just regurgitating a script that you've said for the past 20 years over and over again. You can just push play and do it. Well, that's what you created. You push play. Only they push play. You don't have to. And it works really well. So I'm extremely happy with it.
Awesome. So I do want to ask you one thing. You posted in our members only group the first week you had started your ads, and you said you had sold 15 $99 trials in the first week. Do you remember how much you spent on your ads running that?
I believe $20 a day.
So about 150 bucks.
Yeah, about
or less. All right. That calls for one of these. So how many of you guys listening right now and watching right now are willing to spend 150 bucks to make $1,500 in a week? So if you're willing to do that, go into the comments and type yes, big capital YES. If you're willing to spend 150 bucks on ads and make 1,500 bucks in a week. So that's awesome. So now, Derek, before you came in and we were talking a little bit, and since you've been on, you've put yourself out there. It's awesome. I, from what we've experienced, Travis and I, you're pretty well known in the community. Anytime we talk to anybody that's from Premier or even people outside of that, if we mention your name, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know who Derek is." And so it's been great to work with you. I love how humble you are, and how you just followed the process A to Z. That's been beautiful to watch. So, what I'd like to do is just kind of see if anybody has any questions in the comments. I got a couple people saying yes already. Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I would love to try that. Kio I need to learn how to pronounce your name there. Kio. I'm going to call you Kio. Awesome. He's saying yes. Ron saying yes. Jeff saying yes. James is saying yes. You know it. Awesome. So, Derek, I'm curious. What was it about Get Karate students after? So you talked to Kevin and he said, no, just call him. Or maybe I don't know if you got to look at any of our training or watched any of our content before you were in touch with us. But what was the thing that tipped the scale to make you say, like, yes, I'm going to join the Student Magnet program? And what was the thing, or maybe the one or two things that when you were talking, I think it was Travis you talked to originally, where you were like, yeah, here's my credit card. You made the decision to invest in the Student Magnet program and change your school. Like, what was that moment, or what were the like one or two things that you saw that made you decide to get on board?
Sure. One, having one of my trusted best friends who's been in business forever refer you was huge. So, we always talk about the power of referrals. Referral from someone that somebody trusts is huge. So that did get me to where I was willing to, with an open mind, look at you. And so I went to the website and I watched a video you guys had up that talked about the overall concept, and I liked it. And at the time, I was using an ad agency, and I was paying them $1,000 a month plus ad spend, so about $1,500 a month or so, the $1,600 a month that I'd spend on them. And they did a good job generating leads, but it didn't. But there wasn't a good way to convert them, basically, and the conversion ratios were not good to appointments. So one month I was excited to have 80 leads, and we had 20 appointments from the 80 leads, much less the ones that showed up, and so that's simply not satisfactory. And another friend of mine recommended a different ad company, and they wanted $1,500 a month plus ad spend. And I'm like, well, obviously this is not going a great direction for me. So, and so your thing is, well, what if you just pay us a little bit to educate you? What if we just teach you to fish? And that'll be that. And I liked the idea of that because I'm not super tech savvy, but I'm, average. I'm not tech savvy. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so I watched your video, and then I did a trial. I think you had some kind of an offer where you could look at the T-Fund software. I forget the offer you had, but some kind of offer. So I got into it, started messing around with it, and looking at it, and just kind of not knowing what I was doing, just piddling around to see what it kind of roughly did. And I liked the gist of what it did. Looking at it and watching the introductory tutorial you had up, just kind of explaining it a little bit. It really did what I wanted in terms of getting that instant feedback and follow up, and generating appointments without me or a staff member having to do all of that work. I still do have people, we still once a day follow up with our leads via phone call, but at least 3/4 of that is taken care of. The initial contact happens immediately, and that's absolutely huge, as well as the follow-up. So anyway, so I basically had a referral. I looked at all of your content on what you had that was available, what you actually were doing. And I fiddled around the software a little bit and kind of checked it out some. And I decided that, I think this would be a good direction because I've got a lot of things, and at the time had a lot of things working extremely well for me. And this was something that, this was like a piece. How can I and my actual thought was, how can I make my manager and program director's life infinitely better by they don't have to spend all their time being on call or whatever dealing with this, when they should be, you know, there has to be an efficient way to handle this funnel to appointment. And so again, I mostly got it thinking about how I can make their lives better. And well, here we are. It worked. I did.
Awesome.
That's sort of the decision-making process that I went through.
I love it. I love it. Cool. Very, very detailed. So cool. I've just made a couple of notes here. I'm just trying to run through a couple of, I want to make sure that we value your time and that we, get the most out of this and get the most value for everybody here. So let's see, what do I want to ask you? I'm excited for the future. So let's say, what's going to happen when you do peak out at those 150 student per location? Are you going to open a new location, or are you going to just kind of ride out the two? What's the plan like in the next year or so?
In the next year or so, I want to get to work on the third location. And ultimately I'll open as many locations as I feel like, but it really, to me, it depends on finding the right people. I'm more interested in getting the right manager and the right person for that facility, and then arming them with the right tools to be successful. I wouldn't want to do something where I just, go and open a school up and just start throwing people at it and see who sticks to the wall. But I like the idea of having at least 3 schools, just because that way, I've already seen happen too, that sometimes one school will have a great month, the other one not as good. It's still okay. Whereas having, one school for the past 20 years, if we had a great month, great. I reasonably quickly, not as quickly as I'd like to say, but reasonably quickly learned to set money aside for those great months, for the ones that aren't great. Basically, I think a couple of things. One is that financially speaking, if you can have at least more than one bucket that you're drawing from, then you've got a little bit better control over making sure you have a decent net revenue or net income. I mean, and also ultimately as we are working through our martial arts, we get into martial arts because we love martial arts, and we teach martial arts because we love sharing martial arts and helping people. And so I feel like the more, by having a couple of different facilities, I'll be able to help people do what I did, just faster, better, and sooner in terms of the managers. Yeah. And we'll be able to have a more positive impact on more people in our community by having more facilities. And so I see nothing but from the 7 habits thinking win-win. I think everybody wins in that kind of a scenario. So that's my motivation, my thought process.
I love it. It's awesome, man. So that's pretty exciting. So it's really cool. So the first location that you had open, was that the first premier school that you had opened, or have you opened more and sold or moved through the process? How many schools have you opened?
One school, one man show for quite a while.
Okay.
So this is actually my first time opening a second location, and it's gone very well. Basically, I was not previously I was not in a good mental state to do that. I wasn't a very good manager of people. I wasn't a very good manager of my own time. Thanks, buddy. I wasn't mentally or emotionally ready to do the things necessary. For starters, I wasn't ready to get off the mat. Yeah. I wanted to stay and teach, and I didn't want to give that up. Part of the reason is, as I've kind of gotten older, I just can't teach 40, 50 classes a week anymore. I physically can't do it. maybe if I still could, I might not be sitting here right now. But essentially, I had to grow up, and well, that's not true. I had to grow in a certain direction that led to me being here. I'm not saying there's something wrong with somebody who's, 70 years old and has spent their whole career just being the number one on the mat. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just not, it's not the growth that I wanted for myself, I think is a better way to phrase that. And I feel like I can help more people this way.
I love it.
Than I could by doing that for me.
It's great. It's great. I love it. So lots of growth ahead of you, lots of more students to get on the mats, lots of more managers to help. And so that's awesome. So for everybody here who's inspired, this is what we do here at Get Karate Students. We help martial arts schools fill up their classes. So, we're not just looking for a bunch of schools who want to just enroll a bunch of students. Derek here is, we love working with school owners like Derek and like Kevin, who he mentioned. And I know we've got another Derek on the line who we love working with too. These are school owners that love their curriculum. They love their staff. They love their students. And, they're really looking to make an impact on the community and help improve and impact the lives of their local community. So that's who we're looking to work with. And if that's you, at the end of this call, actually, what we want to do is invite you to a private call. It's a 15-minute call. It's totally free. There's nothing for sale on the call or anything. It's the same kind of call that Derek went to originally to just learn about our process and understand what the blind spots might be and understand how we can help specifically and really to help formulate a game plan for your specific school and your specific situation. So, we might even take a peek at some of your current marketing efforts and give you some practical strategies that you can implement right away. But if you're a school owner who's got a quality program and you want to get your program out in front of more students and you want to do it the same way that Derek's done it here, we're going to open up a limited calendar schedule. It's a limited time only. And we're going to be opening up space for that 15-minute game plan call with one of our specialists who probably actually get on the phone with Travis. And again, we're only going to go to, just a few details about your school. We're going to listen and kind of understand where you're at. It's a really short 15-minute call. Just talk about some of the issues you might be running into as far as marketing, and then really kind of try and cast a vision for you of what it would look like working with us directly. So if you do want that 15-minute call, there's, it's only going to be available for a limited time. If you want to just type free call in the comments right now, and we'll definitely give you guys some answers. We're going to give you some clarity. And this call is really going to allow us and allow you to see if you want to even work with us or not. So you're not going to, you're not going to get a big sales pitch on it. You're going to get a ton of value out of this, but you're also going to be able to get a ton of clarity on what it actually looks like specifically for you and your school as far as working with us. So for everybody that's watching, if you're a school owner and you want to dial in the same process that Derek here has taken his school, where he's enrolled, 260 something students, just type free call in the comments below, and we're going to hook you up with that free call. Once you do that, somebody from our team is going to reach out on Facebook Messenger. So if you don't see it, you might want to check your message requests folder, which is kind of like where they hide all the messages from people that aren't connected to you on Facebook. And we're going to open up that time in our calendars. We'll get you on the books either tomorrow or the next day, and or maybe even the day after. We might give you some additional resources too, or like some homework. And that's really just to kind of get all the pieces of the puzzle together, and so that you can look at our process from really high level. And so you can see our methodology and the training, and to give you some answers and clarity, just like Derek was talking about. And we kind of got to peek around and look at some stuff. We'll let you see all that stuff. So if you want to do that, and if you're interested in some more information, just type free call into the comments below. But back to you, Derek, really quick. I would love to hear just really quick what you're most excited about moving forward, since you're pretty much about to peak out at those goals and those first two things. Like, what's the most exciting for you moving forward over this next year?
Wow, that's a pretty big question. For starters, I'm really happy coming out of the whole COVID debacle. I feel like just me as a person, that was a big test, and I've learned a huge amount about myself, and learned a huge amount about what I want me to be, and I did a lot of self-analysis, which is I think a polite way of saying that I completely freaked out and was in a bad place for a little bit and decided I didn't want to be in that bad place psychologically. I mean,
Yeah.
and really worked to not stay there, and really worked on shaping myself to be the me that I want me to be. And I have a strong suspicion that many people on this call can relate to that. And so
Yes.
one, I'm excited about having a deeper understanding of myself through adversity. And two is I really feel like with my current team and the team that we're building, we'll be able to have huge amounts of success for my whole team. And that just thrills me. This next chapter of my professional life of doing more mentoring of people that are managing facilities and teaching facilities for me is more empowering for me than I ever thought it possible. Whenever I was afraid to take that step for myself because I didn't see the value in it, I do now. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's where we're going. It's going to be nothing but good.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that, man. It's awesome. I'm glad you're here with us today. It's super. Just Travis and I just love conversations like this and love hearing from our clients that are just hitting goals like this. So we're totally excited. We're super proud of how far you've come in the program. And, you're a great example of somebody who you had things working already. You weren't like, hard up and this wasn't your last hope, There's a lot of guys out there that are kind of just doing their thing. And I think sometimes there's a good expression that is one of my favorites is the enemy of a great life is a good life. If things are just good, it's hard to get to great. So I appreciate your tenacity and your desire to just keep going and make things bigger and better for you and for the people around you. So it's just beautiful to see the impact you're making on the community and on the people that, are on your staff now, the people that'll be on your staff in the future. It's just great. Just imagine we're going to be from 12 months from now, man. It's going to be so awesome. So thanks for the inspiration, Derek. We really appreciate it. And we still have, quite a few people on watching right now. So again, if you guys want the same systems that Derek's using right here, same processes, same templates, the same help, support, mentorship that Derek had to go and enroll, a couple hundred students coming out of the pandemic, and you're considering working with us, just go on into the comments there. Just type in free call. We'll get on that 15-minute call. Nothing for sale on these calls, just basically going to give us an understanding and help us diagnose what's happening and see if you're a good fit, and then we'll set you up with some homework, maybe some additional resources or some next steps to get started with us. But if you do want that call, just type free call right there in the comments on this live. And if you're watching the replay, you can type the same thing on there, free call, and then we'll have our team keeping an eye, making sure that everybody's watching the comments. We'll send you that private message, get that call set up for some clarity, walk you through exactly what it's going to look like for your school specifically. And then maybe one day you'll be on an interview like this with Derek here, and you'll be talking to us and telling us about your success that you have in the program. So it's just awesome to see how quickly things can change and how that abundant mindset and how abundant things can be when you're actually working less, having a bigger impact on your students. And again, we're just looking for school owners who want to make an impact like Derek and who want to have, live lives, not money hungry, not people that are out there, like Derek said, throwing a bunch of people against the wall to see who sticks, not McDojos. We're not into any of that stuff. So, making a bunch of money is awesome. And being in abundance is awesome. But we also want people who want to make an impact. So if that's you, we really care for, if you really care about your students, you care about your staff, and you have a program that you think transforms people's lives, like I know Derek's does and has so many other martial arts schools, no matter what type of, style or martial arts you teach. If you want to implement these same systems that Derek's done here, just type free call into the comments and we're going to hook you up on that free call. We'll give you some resources. And if you're not a good fit, we'll refer you over to some other resources, maybe some trainings, or maybe even hook you up with a friend of ours in the industry. We've made quite a few friends in this community, and some of them might be a better fit for you. So we'd just love to help figure that out and, get on the call with you and help you figure that out, get that clarity, see what it looks for you, specifically in your school. So Derek, thank you so much, man. It's been a real pleasure. Multiple times throughout, I was inspired. So I know everybody on the call is inspired too. It's really great. Any final words before we wrap up here?
Well, yes. One is that piggybacking off something you just said, it is entirely possible to be ethically, financially successful. And I feel like we have a lot of examples of people that don't, but there are a lot of examples of people that do. And you can be ethical in your treatment of people and in your business practices and be successful at the same time. And I think it's the most rewarding and best way to do it. So
absolutely,
my thought.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's a voice that's not heard very much in the martial arts space, unfortunately. I think there's a lot of this thought where it's like mutually exclusive. Either you're passionate and you love what you do, or you make a bunch of money and you don't. And what this industry and this community needs more than anything right now is for people to take those and stop trying to put them in two different buckets. Because if you truly hate, and that's a strong word, but if you truly hate those schools that are just like watered down, because there are some out there that just really have a good marketing and sales system and have nothing when it comes to curriculum. If you want to put them out of business, you better learn to get some students on your mats and take them away from those guys, and not sit back here and act like your reputation is going to attract those students, because it's just not going to do that. So if you care about the students that are being swayed the wrong direction, you better get good at marketing and attracting those students to your school. It's your responsibility. So I'm glad you said that, Derek. Thank you for that reminder, because sometimes I forget, because marketing is all I do. Like it's sort of like, it's what I do, it's what I teach, it's what my program is. So it's all of my life. It just kind of, I eat, breathe, and sleep it. So I forget sometimes that some people think that it's exclusive. It's mutually exclusive to be in abundance and have integrity and traditional values. I have very traditional values. I'm a Christian person. I do my best to live within, God's will for my life. And so, but I also believe that we can have an abundance and we can be blessed by those things. So awesome. All right. Well, everybody in the comments, give Derek some love, give him a big thank you, some claps and some high fives, and give us some likes and loves in the comments there. Derek, thank you again so much for coming here and sharing your story. Thank you for sharing what worked. Thank you for being transparent and being just inspiring. So for those of you that are looking to work with us, we'll be looking forward to chatting with you guys and chatting some more. But thanks again, Derek. We appreciate you, sir.
Of course.
Have a good one. Thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.